Ladies and gentlemen, hey, hi, how you doing? Welcome back to the channel. Thank you so much for stopping by. Raven has said countless times over the, honestly, course of Warzone, I would say, that they are trying to push for the most diverse meta possible, meaning you could use as many different weapons and they're all going to be at least somewhat competitive, right? And throughout Modern Warfare, we had a pretty solid meta. Throughout Cold War, there were times when the meta was pretty rough, but then it got to a point where it was pretty good. And now here in Vanguard, after we've seen some tuning throughout the course of the Pacific update and Pacific integration, I think I can honestly say the meta is in an absolutely incredible spot. And the reason I say that is because right now we've got plenty of Vanguard weapons that are definitely competitive. We've got a good amount of Cold War weapons that are still very competitive. And we even have a ton of Modern Warfare weapons that are also competitive in this current meta. But there is a way to really optimize your loadouts, the way to get the max out of every single gunfight you're in, whether it is close range, medium range, or long range. There's a very specific way to combine things, basically. Of course, recently we would have gone through our various loadout videos and whatnot. We're talking the best Vanguard setups together. We'll use the Bren and the MP40. We'll use the Welgun with maybe a sniper of some sort, whatever the case may be. But when it comes down to it, there is a clear distinction between quite a few Vanguard weapons and the Cold War and Modern Warfare weapons. Now, it all has to do with long range fights. Close range, everything is pretty solid, especially the Vanguard weapons. Honestly, I feel like the Vanguard weapons are probably dominating the close range meta. For that more medium to long range meta though, you gotta factor in velocity, which is something that a lot of the Vanguard weapons currently are kind of lacking. I would expect that to change at some point in the future, but really, Cold War and Modern Warfare weapons have great velocities. We're looking at 1,000 minimum for quite a few of them once you put on the best muzzle and barrel. And from that point on, they are great for any kind of ranged fights. Whereas very few Vanguard weapons are like that. The Bren is one of them, but we know it's going to be nerfed continuously over the course of time. Others are solid, like, yeah, the Cooper, the STG, the Bar, they're all right for range. But statistically, a lot of these Modern Warfare and Cold War weapons are beating them out. So really, when it comes down to it, the ultimate loadouts, the best meta loadouts you can build for the absolute best efficiency in any kind of engagement feature, likely a Modern Warfare or a Cold War primary and a Vanguard secondary. Again, with the exception of the Bren, but we all know that by now. So today, I wanted to focus on maximizing your loadouts, going over 5 setups in specific that I think are quite nearly perfect for any Caldera gameplay. Of course, if you find this video helpful, let me know by dropping a like on it. And if you're new to the channel, feel free to subscribe. Every day I got you covered with all things going on in COD. News, updates, loadouts, tips, it's all right here. So for instance, our first loadout here, the C58 and the Owen Gun. The C58 is still an absolute beast in medium to long range fights. We actually just covered this in a specific video earlier on this week where we were frying. And with that, we've got the Owen Gun, which is one of the best secondaries and one of the best close range weapons in the game right now because it has a phenomenal TTK, great mobility, good magazine capacity, like all around, it's solid. And for what it's worth, yeah, there are some great Cold War and Modern Warfare close range weapons, the Lapa, the MP5, so on and so forth. But the Vanguard weapons here really just seem like they are the most capable because they have the best attachment setups with some of the extra perks and whatnot, specifically for close range. But obviously on the C58, our setup is pretty standard here. Of course, we're going for Agency and Task Force for the best range and velocity and keeping us off the minimap. We're also going for Field Agent to help out with that control. I like running the 45 round mag on here. Then of course, finally, we're going for the 3x optic on there too. Basic setup, and that's what's nice about a lot of these Cold War and Modern Warfare weapons is the setups are very straightforward because we've been using them for so long. They're not nearly as complex as some of the Vanguard ones. Whereas on the Owen Gun here, first up, we're going for the recoil booster. Give us that better fire rate. It's going to make it more optimal for close range, as will the rapid barrel, which gives us better fire rate yet again, and also a better hip fire accuracy stat too, which is pretty ideal. For the optic here, this is probably the most crucial part of the entire Owen Gun setup. We're going for the Slate 2.5 times custom because when we switch to that mini red dot, it actually takes away the mag from basically obscuring your screen. So that's a huge pro to have there. Remove stock because we want that better mobility on a sub, obviously. For the underbarrel, I like running the hand stop, just helps, maximize that control there. You could try something like the pistol grip, but you're going to notice that recoil a lot more. For the magazine here, the Garanko 72 round drums are elite. Better fire rate, so your TTK is actually increasing even more. Better control on there as well. We're also going for the incendiary mags as always. It's toxic, but man, does it get the job done. Going for polymer on here as well for better control. For perk 1, I'm loving acrobatic. That increased movement speed is perfect for a subclass setup. And for perk 2, either quick or fully loaded, both of these work just fine. Maximize your ammo or get some better sprint speed. Totally comes down to personal preference, but man, does it work. Setup 2 here, we got the Cold War AK, then we also have the Welgun. Again, gonna work perfectly for medium to long range fights because the AK has an insane TTK there. And the Welgun has the single best TTK out of the entire SMG category right now. Thing absolutely deletes players, so you get the best of both worlds once more. Again, we're going for GRU, we're going for the RPK barrel, same old, same old. Also gonna go for the Spetsnaz grip, or the field agent grip as it is also called. The 45 round mags or the 60 round mags, again, both work here. And surprise, surprise, the 3x optic, literally the same setup as over on the C58 because it gets the job done and it works and it's consistent. Now for the Welgun here, things are interesting because there are a lot of Welgun setups that work pretty well. For me, I really like the recoil booster first and foremost. We want to help out with that fire rate. For the barrel, I've seen quite a few different setups. I personally like using the shrouded barrel here. Gives you more of some versatility for some medium and some close range fights. Also increases that one hit kill area, or the crit area I should say. However, I've also seen players rocking the Wilkie Custom for the better hip fire accuracy. I know Tony or True Game Data likes to run this as well. So to me, both of these are solid options. Just comes down to what you prefer. A little bit more versatility that's slightly slower, or a really, really good hip fire build that doesn't have many cons for ADSing. Totally comes down to preference. Again, we're going for the slate reflector here, just your basic red dot. For the stock here, skeletal or removed are both going to work really, really well. You're going to notice more recoil with removed. Skeletal, though, was not going to give you as many pros, so it just comes down to, again, what you favor more. For the underbarrel here, you could go two different routes. You could go for the pistol grip and get some insane sprint to fire and some better hip fire out of there, or you could go for some better control and accuracy with the hand stop. Again, really comes down to what you value more. I'm going for speed and aggression here, though. For the magazine, you also got options here. Pretty much, you could use anyone but the first one. The 9mm 64 are great. They're not going to do anything crazy to your TTK, but it's a nice extended mag and it's pretty easy to use. The Granco 48 will hurt your damage a little bit, but you get a better fire rate, so you're not really losing out too much on the TTK. You also get better control and a better movement speed. Or you could go for the 45 48, which actually increase your damage but make it a bit harder to use. I like to choose between the 64 and the Granco mags. Personally, I prefer the Granco mags, but both of those work really well. Again, we're going for incendiary here once more. Also polymer for the better recoil control. For perk 1, I like acrobatic once more, but Gung Ho is also really, really good for eliminating that sprint to fire. So if you want that instantaneous fire, Gung Ho is your go-to. If you want better movement all around, acrobatic is your go-to. Both of those work great. And then again, quick or fully loaded, whichever one you prefer. Setup 3 here, the Kilo and the MP40. The Kilo is surprisingly good up through about 80, 90 meters. It does drop off a bit after that, but a lot of your fights in Caldera are within that 80 meter mark. It seems like the long range is not super noticeable compared to like Verdansk. It just is different how it plays here. An MP40, as we know, is probably the go-to secondary for the vast majority of players still. It doesn't have the best TTK in the subclass because the Owen Gun exists, the Sten exists in certain situations, the Welgun exists, but it is super easy to use and it's very consistent as well. For the Kilo here, it's going to be your basic Modern Warfare setup. Monolithic suppressor, we're going for the Prowler barrel, aka the biggest barrel, best range, velocity, and control out of that. We're going for the VLK 3x, we'll throw T-pose on that for the reticle, nice and clean and easy to use. Also going for the Commando foregrip, minimize that recoil some. Then you either go for the 50 or the 60 round mags. Pretty much the same, approach as the Cold War weapons as well. Muzzle, barrel, optic, underbarrel, magazine, and you're good to go. For the MP40 here, I'm sure you guys know this setup by now because we've covered it numerous times, but it works, it fries. I love it. Recoil booster first up, the 317mm barrel. I go for the iron sights here, the ISO 1M sights, better ADS, and just makes the iron sights a bit cleaner in my opinion. Also going for the folding stock here for the better mobility. Gonna go for the pistol grip in this case. You could use hand stop, but I feel like the recoil is pretty easy. For the magazine, the Granco mags are a must-have here. Better control, better fire rate. You love to see it. Again, we're going for the incendiary ammo upgrade. Gonna go for polymer on here as well for the better control. Honestly, all the perks kind of suck here. None of them are all that great. I use steady for the better ADS firing speed, better strafing speed basically. Makes it a bit more aggressive. And then of course, quick or fully loaded once more. Setup 4, we've got the XM4, we've got the Vanguard PPSH, the best hip fire gun in the entire game. This thing fries up close. The XM4 beams for medium and long range. You got the best of both worlds once again. So we're gonna go for agency suppressor as always. Task force, the 3x optic. You probably know where I'm going with this setup. The field agent grip, and then again either 45 or 60, whatever your heart desires. The basic Cold War copy and paste setup that indeed still works here on Caldera. Now for the Vanguard PPSH, like I said, we're focused on hip fire and hip fire alone. A lot of players like to use the oil can suppressor just so they can stay off the minimap. That's a totally fine option. You could also go for the recoil booster though and get some insane fire rate that's going to be perfect for those close range fights. For the barrel here, obviously we're going for the 230mm, better hip fire accuracy all around. That's exactly what we're going for. While we're hardly ever ADSing, you still want to run an optic on here because you still get the benefits of increased recoil control, I should say, then also increased accuracy. So using an optic on here, despite not ADSing, is still clutch. So we go ahead and do that. We're going to go for the remove stock. In this case, better hip fire accuracy. You'll love to see it. For the underbarrel, we're actually going to either go between the Carver, which gives you better recoil control and a better hip fire, or you go for the steady, which is strictly better hip fire. Both of those are solid options. For the mag here, we're going for the first magazine, the Nambu 71 round mags, better control and accuracy, also better fire rate. Again, perfect for those close range fights. Incendiary once more. In this case, we're not going for polymer because we're not really ADSing all that much. That recoil change is not all that noticeable. Instead, we want to go for something that's going to give us a better hip fire, which is going to be the Pine Tar grip. It hurts your ADS, but that's irrelevant on this setup. For perk 1, you could go a couple of different options yet again. Tight grip actually does help out with minimizing that control and helping your accuracy while you are hip firing still, so that is a solid option. Fleet is also really good for that increased movement speed and better quickness. Those are the main two I'd be looking at there. I personally prefer tight grip. Then in this case, I do run fully loaded just because when you're hip firing, you are bound to miss a few more shots, maybe run out of ammo a bit quicker. So having that max ammo is pretty clutch. Then finally, we got the AMAX and we've got the Sten. The Sten is surprisingly good. We've covered this in a previous video as well. It's honestly comparable to the MP40 with the right setup on there. And then for the AMAX, we already know this thing's a beast. It has been for quite some time. It's not the super overpowered weapon that it once was, but it definitely still holds its own because it has insane velocity when you're using the monolithic suppressor and the Zodiac barrel on there. We're also going to go for the VOK 3x optic, going to go for the Commando foregrip as well, and the 45 round mags. Again, your standard Cold War copy and paste, Modern Warfare copy and paste attachment setup, but it gets the job done, and that's why we use it on pretty much every single ranged weapon. Then for the Sten here, we're sort of building this like we would any other Vanguard sub, where we're trying to maximize that TTK. So first up, we are going for the recoil booster to increase that fire rate. We're also going for the rapid barrel here. Again, just simply increasing your fire rate and helping out that TTK. For the optic here, you want to run the SA32S. This basically gets rid of the little ring over the top of it and makes it a nice clean iron sight, perfect for close range fights. For the stock here, Para is going to be ideal here just because it's better sprint to fire, which is perfect for running and gunning like you would with the Sten. For the underbarrel here, pistol grip or hand stop again are going to work just fine. I prefer pistol grip for the better sprint to fire. For the magazine, this is a crucial one. 50 round drums. You don't usually use just basic extended mags on most weapons from Vanguard, but in this case, it's absolutely worth it. The other magazine capacities here just are not good. 32 is your max, which is not viable in anything above duo. So 50 is definitely the way to go. Obviously, we're going for incendiary alongside polymer on here too. Then for perk 1, Gung Ho is incredible on this setup. The movement is already really good, so you don't necessarily need acrobatic. Gung Ho is ideal though, because again, you get that instantaneous sprint to fire, which makes you super aggressive, and quick or fully loaded are going to be perfect here once more. And with all that being said, those, in my opinion, are the most optimal and most efficient loadouts to be running here in Call of Duty right now. You're getting the best close range possibilities with a lot of these Vanguard weapons, but also the best medium to long range possibilities with the great velocities that a lot of the Cold War and Modern Warfare weapons have. And that said, that's going to wrap things up for today. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. If you did, let me know by dropping a like on it. And of course, if you're new to the channel or if you have not already subscribed, every day I got you covered with all things going on in COD. News, updates, loadouts, tips, it is all right here. So feel free to subscribe with your notifications turned on. But once again, thank you so much for tuning in. And until next time, take it easy, have an awesome rest of your day, and I'll catch you guys later. Peace out.